thunderstorm. I guess we're getting hail. I hope we don't get any tornadoes. Oh no, it's starting to hail. This week I'm back with some very exciting changes to this little house. Starting off right away is painting. I have the entire living room area prepped for paint, both the walls and the ceiling, and I'm going to be spraying this. It's the fastest way to get it on, and it has great coverage. Not to mention the really satisfying impact it has almost immediately. It's the next morning and that first coat of wall paint has completely dried down. It's very streaky. You can see going over a darker color like this, I was absolutely not expecting full coverage. There are some areas where things have bled through a little bit. I'm gonna have to assess to see if I'm gonna have to reprime those areas or if that second coat will actually take care of the rest of it. I was definitely having some troubles, some issues with my big sprayer. It's just one of those things that I've had for years and years and years, and I only pull it out every couple of years. It really does not get used that often. And when things sit like that, sometimes they are a little bit tricky to get working again. My spray nozzle was definitely struggling in the beginning. I was able to clear it out. I think it probably just had a clog, but it was a little touch and go from the start. This morning should be a lot easier with the second coat, but before I even start to think about spraying that second coat, I do want to go over everything with caulking and sanding in areas that need to be. Getting that first coat of paint always highlights some of the problem areas that you need a little bit more attention on. There's a couple nail holes that I missed that I'll go in with my caulking and my wood fill. And I am going to hand sand the ceiling just to knock down any textured areas that might have popped up with that first coat. got the 2 full coats on the walls and the ceiling. There are definitely some areas of this paneling that there was some bleed through, and I'm gonna come back and address that later on. In the meantime, I really wanna get this paper off of the windows so I can bring some natural light back in here, just so I can see a little bit easier. In order to do that, we are gonna be painting all of these window trim a different color, and I am gonna spray that just because I have everything all taped off already. I'm gonna use a little bit of painter's tape and plastic just to tape off the painted wall and make sure that I don't get any overspray. We'll see how this goes. It's been a bit of a challenge so far. Pivoting back to the other main living areas, the compound on the ceiling is completely dry, just from some areas that we had to touch up after scraping the popcorn. So that means I can do the final smooth sanding on these ceilings and walls. Once that's done, I can get to painting as well. I just need to finish up that prep work to get it to that point. It's the next morning and the paint has fully dried. It's starting to look so good in here. Finally looking a little bit more finished, a little bit more polished. There's still so much left to do, but it's always nice to get to start to see some of that pretty finishes come through. The color we opted for the walls is Swiss Coffee. It's a nice warm off-white. And all of the trim work, we're going with Spanish Sands, something that's very complementary, but a couple shades darker so that it really does pop. And once we get that flooring in, everything is gonna complement each other so well. I've got all of the ceiling lights back up. I do have a couple more that are due to come in within the next couple of days, which is really exciting. Having nice, bright light throughout the house really does make such a difference. This house was so dark initially, and so adding extra light really does brighten everything up and make it feel so much more inviting. The place is still a bit of a mess. I really do need to tidy up, clean up. The floor is covered with overspray, which isn't a problem. All of it's coming up anyway. It'll just vacuum up pretty easily. But something else you will also notice is there's still a lot of the original dark wood grain paneling. All the paneling that was not previously painted needs a really heavy duty primer. I tested it in several different areas and it bleeds terribly. So we're gonna have to get a good primer that blocks tannins. And in order to do that, we're probably just gonna get something and roll it on the walls instead of spraying it. So in the areas that you're still seeing this darkness, we will definitely prime and paint those at a future date. But I really wanted to focus on getting the ceilings done and the walls that will not have cabinetry and built-ins in the kitchen completely painted. I'm gonna start planning and building some of those kitchen cabinets. I only have a couple more days here before I actually head home, so I'm gonna make the most of it, starting with building the boxes of the bases. Once I can build those boxes, I can kind of get them set in place so that I can get a good idea of the layout and see how the flow is feeling. I'm still a little unsure as far as what the finish is going to be at the end. Whether we go with a fully painted kitchen cabinetry or we do half stained, half painted, we'll really have to see. I'm also unsure which color I want to go for the painted sections of the kitchen cabinets. I could go with that Spanish Sands to match the rest of the trim work, but sometimes it's a little bit fun to have an accent pop since we really are only gonna have the two colors painted in this house. It might be nice to introduce a third color. I've officially got that first cabinet box in. I wanted to start with one where I knew exactly what size I wanted. This sink cabinet is 36 inches wide and I needed to center it under this window. So this one's really the starting off point for this whole side of the kitchen. Not to mention, this one also had the most cutouts that I had to do. So these two pipes at the bottom, the outlet for the garbage disposal and the actual drain itself all needed to be cut out and sized perfectly for their placement because I didn't want overly large holes. The dishwasher is going to go right here, and the opening for that will be about 24 inches. And then after the dishwasher, we do want to have a trash cabinet. So I will go ahead and build a trash cabinet that will go on the other side of the dishwasher. I'm gonna seal the bottoms of both of these two cabinets. This one being the trash cabinet, I wanna make sure it's wipeable and cleanable in case anything ever spills in here. And then it's just a good idea to seal the kitchen sink cabinet as well, just in case any moisture gets in there, or a lot of times people will store their kitchen cleaning products under there, and if those spill, again, it's nice to be able to wipe it. These extra deep corner cabinets that are going to wrap into the back are pretty large and bulky, so I'm just going to assemble everything in here on the ground and then slide them in place, adding whatever supports I need after the fact. Oh no, it's starting to hail. I want to bring these inside so they have a chance to dry off. I thought I was going to beat the storm. Oh, guess not. Oh my goodness. Gotta save the cabinets. Well, it was supposed to just be a thunderstorm. I guess we're getting hail. I hope we don't get any tornadoes. I'm gonna have to keep an eye on the radar. Well, now that I'm soaking wet, at least I have everything inside. The saws are inside, the plywood's inside, everything's inside and buttoned up. I might as well just keep going with these cabinets, at least what I can do today. Like I mentioned before, I'm gonna have to keep an eye on the radar. I am in tornado country, so fingers crossed we don't have to make a run for the basement. Now that I have all the lower boxes in here, the game plan for today is to actually attach them all together and then install them on the wall. It's a little bit more complicated than it sounds. Not only do I want to affix them together, I also want to try to level them as best that I can so that when we go to install the countertops, it's as level as possible. Of course, any house, you're gonna have leveling issues. None of the walls are perfectly straight. None of the floors are 100% straight. So especially when you get to the corners, a lot of times it gets a little wonky. So I'm gonna just take it step by step and see how much I can accomplish. Now that I have this main block of cabinets all affixed together, I'm gonna throw my level on it just to make sure everything's looking level, which it is so far, which is wonderful. Exactly what I wanted. And with that, I can go ahead and screw it into the actual studs, affix each cabinet. If I need to put some spacers back there, I can. I have some paint sticks or shims that I can stick back there to fill any gaps that might be from an uneven wall. I just don't want to change the positioning too much and make things become less level than they are right now. My game plan for these uppers are to create several different designs. I do want to do 2 corner cabinets. So I'll do one here and one there. Both of them are going to be 24 inches on either side, and then the door will sit flush with the corner. In the center here, I'm going to do 2 ceiling to countertop cabinets. I want these to come all the way down and touch the countertop, just as though it were a hutch. It's gonna create tons and tons of storage and be really beautiful when you're walking into the kitchen. They're gonna be the first thing you see, so I really do want to make them something special. Again, the corner cabinet goes here. I will have a regular cabinet here, and then a cabinet above the stove that the microwave will attach to, and then a small cabinet to complement this cabinet down here, and then I might do a cabinet above the fridge. I'm not really sure. We'll see how it looks in the end. 42.5 is what it's looking like the height needs to be. I have the standard 18 inches between where the countertop is going to be and the bottom of the cabinet. We did go ahead and take into account some under cabinet lighting, so that will plug into this outlet here and be turned on and off with this light switch. So this outlet's going to be built into this corner cabinet. Now that I have both these corner cabinets up, I can start filling in the sides. I already went ahead and leveled out these support blocks that will help me hold it in place while I'm able to get some screws into the actual studs themselves. These ones should be significantly lighter than these corner ones because I'm not building all the sides out of 3/4 inch plywood. The back is actually just the backer board, so it's not going to be as heavy. These were a challenge and a half, but you've got to do what you've got to do. My parents are out of town for a couple days, so it's just me here. Well, and that's it. Another week is finished. This one took a lot out of me. I'm not going to lie. My parents were gone for a couple days, so it was just me by myself. And I'm so happy that I was able to build all of these cabinet boxes. Now, obviously, they're very far from being finished. I just want to get that footprint in here. Next up, I will be building all of the drawer boxes and the doors and drawer faces, figuring out what colors I want to paint everything. I'm toying around with the idea of a stained bottom, so all the base cabinets stained, and then perhaps the top ones painted. We will see. I need to take some swatches and see how this wood stains up. But I think this little kitchen turned out to be such a functional space. I am so excited for these great big cabinets right here. Obviously, I left a gap between these and the lowers. This is where the countertop is going to slide in. So it's going to look as though these actually sit on the countertop. I'm envisioning possibly doing glass front doors on these two so that they really pop. I'm not sure yet. I'm going to have to price all of this. But anyway, I hope you really enjoyed this week. I know I did. I had a great time building all of these. Even though it's a lot of work, I have a ton of fun doing this kind of stuff. It really itches both that creative and analytical spot in my brain that makes it so satisfying to see the results at the end. I appreciate those of you that have stuck around and watched this process. Again, I know it's not as satisfying because I don't have a finished product at the end, but there's really nothing I can do about that. I'm filming the process as I go along week by week, and I appreciate the patience. Thank you so much, and I hope you get a chance to check out all of the previous videos as well.